Hi, I'm Keegan, and this is a Bunch of Gamers. This is our 152nd episode of Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition, The Ticking Clock. I'm gonna go around and have my players introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sam. I play Cora. She's an Aruna in the Get of Fenris.
Hi, I'm Adam. I play Mark Guides the Fallen, and he's a third of the Children of Gaia.
Hi, I'm Sean. I play Zeb Speaks-in-Sweet-Whispers. He is a Theurge of the Silent Striders.
Hello, my name's Thomas. I play Dimitri Howls-In-Memory, Lupus Galliard of the Bone Gnawers.
Hi, my name is George. I am playing William Grows-Matrices. He is a rune of the Glasswalkers.
Last time, the packs went north to the Sept of the Sentinel to deal with Tatiana Guts-the-Weak. After a fierce back and forth, the packs finally got the Get of Fenris Elder on their side before returning to the Sept of the Green. There, a Pigeon spirit arrives and informs them that the Shadow Lords and the Silver Fangs have sent representatives to look into Alvin Storm-Chaser. Deciding to go look for themselves, the packs return to Sacred Stone. It is here that Zeb is struck with the sudden desire to spread the message, and that they must return to Vancouver to give that message. Knowing something is wrong, Kyle is able to direct them to Vancouver, Washington, in an attempt to end this compulsion sooner. Upon arriving in city limits, Zeb speaks out. Alvin Storm-Chaser is Carson Faces-the-Storm, and he is back and working his machinations at Sacred Stone. After Zeb's outburst, you all stand there, the cold February winds of the Pacific Northwest blasting you with their icy chill.
He didn't kill us, and he didn't send us into a trap, and he could have sent us right to the good doctor. That's strange.
Who the hell is Carson?
During the battle for Winterfang, an elder of the Silver Fangs named Carson Faces-the-Storm fell gloriously in battle against the worm, saving many. Right, and this was really the terrible cost of trying to close that cairn, and this is where Dimitri Howls-In-Memory joined us. After his death, there was a period of time when one of the werewolves in our sept appeared to be susceptible to suggestion and acting oddly. Eye color, this was all things actually that Kyle Guardslow noticed and perceived, and it was Howling King, who was a relative. And we ended up exposing the fact when Carson himself returned, realizing that a namer of some power brought him back. Now this caused all kinds of ripples, as originally the Sept of the Sacred Stone was not, well, long ago it was an older brother cairn. At the time, the elders that controlled it were not of older brother. This caused, well, it nearly fell. And this was a significant emotional thing, especially for those that were raised there their entire lives. It came to pass that Fomori's Bane and our pack under its previous name defeated Carson, and he ended up somewhere in the underworld beyond the second veil. And it would appear that once again he has cheated death. He was actually subjected to execution by elders that came to Sacred Stone. Tatiana Guts-the-Weak among them, a Judge of Doom, First Wolf, right? Malcolm's pack alpha at the time. So this was one of those things, and I think you've heard Kyle talk about it, of everyone wanted to blame everything on the worm, but there was more to it than that. But that's the long and the short of it, brother.
Okay.
Gesture to the others that were clearly there if they have any other information to add.
Yeah, we found out that it was part of a scheme by this good doctor who recently came into one of my dreams to have a conversation. That was some time ago.
So is it the same namer then?
Yes, it is the same namer.
Yes. I was told, I was not present, but that this was a concern for the restless dead, that this namer was making promises, and even when Carson was exposed, we did it by summoning an Incarna of the Truth to Sacred Stone because it was just things had gotten that bad. And when we successfully did that, I will say now in retrospect that Carson's motivations were still to do right by the Gru Nation. Now, right in the eyes of every single tribe is a very different thing. Right from his perspective, yes. And he was desperate to do whatever it took to be able to meet his goal. And that drive, I think, got poisoned by this good doctor. That is my supposition. He just wanted it that badly and was offered a very desperate route to get what he wanted. And here we are again. Now the thing is, we've been completely clowned.
Again.
And if those chums that were all there believe that there's no issue...
Well, it seems that it's less that they don't see an issue, it's more that they've been charmed into not seeing an issue.
Very likely so.
Perhaps as charmed as Carson Faces-the-Storm. But yet again, being used by the good doctor to gain power in Sacred Stone for some reason. Of all the Septs, of all the places where Garu gather, why Sacred Stone?
Well, it's a powerful Sept of visions, Mark, right? Just as much as 5 mirrors is a central point that many can connect to. That Sept's one of the largest and most powerful ones in the western portion of North America, right? I mean, it's why multiple tribes were willing to go to war over it before, remember? I mean, when Tatiana was willing to bring all of her Fenrir warriors in to kill everybody. It's a massively big deal. We saw just how devastating it was to lose Winterfang. But I just don't know what to do. I don't think we can go back to Colorado Springs.
No. If anything, the reason why we were tricked here is just so we get out of the picture. Something must have already been in play, and us arriving so suddenly must have just been a minor inconvenience, and he just needed to flick the fleas away, so to speak.
I mean, this entity already preyed on other people. I mean, he enticed in a desperate move. I mean, Paints with Twilight was willing to do things for him for the hope that maybe that transformation would stop. We know that she was a great and wonderful warrior, but preying upon desperation, yeah, it's nasty. And you're right. Whatever the case is, we're not going to be able to use the normal way to just confront this and have everyone accept it, because now it's been tested.
We also don't really have the time to go visit the good doctor to take care of this.
Well, it showed that he visits us, not the other way around.
Well, I mean, if this entity was capable of resurrecting an Elder Guru twice and manipulating multiple other elders and doing what just happened to us, well, I think some of that was still Carson. I don't know if we're going to be able to confront it. This goes back to the possibility that we contact somebody else a little bit more unsavory to help handle the good doctor part of this, because I don't think we're any match. And then we go somewhere else. Do we want to try and go to, again, garner more support?
I agree with Zeb. We need to find someone else to take care of this. But I can't help but feel the best way to take care of a namer is to get a namer on our side.
No, if we're not strong enough to take on a namer with the 6 of us, we'd have to get elders. We're Athro and Adrian. The only guru stronger than us are elders.
Don't you see? Faces-the-Storm was an elder. He's a plaything to the doctor now.
One elder.
And if one elder can fall...
I just worry that if we get a namer on our side, it's actually us going on their side. I wouldn't trust a namer further than I can throw it, and I can't even reach it right now to throw it.
To your points, right. I don't think there's going to be anyone we can call that's a guru that can help us here. And I don't think that whoever we call is a namer and we play it cool, they're not going to help us with anything but this. And it doesn't mean that they stop being an enemy of ours, right? And this is why I mentioned before Appleton. And I know Cora and Mark's feelings on this. I'm not saying she's not a monster, but she's the only one we know. And this is if she thinks werewolfism is a problem, I'm going to think that people coming back from the dead making bargains is still a pretty damn big problem too. And we can try to figure out a way to meet her in a random restaurant somewhere on the road to exchange information and be on our way, because otherwise we're not going to influence. I don't think we can influence anything anymore on this thing for Sacred Stone. Someone else is going to have to do it. We can warn our friends, but theoretically, Mark, right? Like, these elders have been convinced,
They have been.
and that's the end of it, right? Like us challenging that again over and over and over again only hurts us as packs in the long run.
And with the Concordat hanging over our heads, that's something we can't do.
Precisely. And again, I don't know why. Now, again, he would state to those other elders, "Oh yeah, I'm going to vote in favor for these guys." I have no idea. But yeah, here we are.
Well, isn't that in and of itself concerning? That a being of the worm, a being that brought back from the dead, and then also wanting to keep the child alive is going against our own best interest for the Guru Nation?
That's the thing I want to make clear. Not worm. Definitely dead. Now,
What I'm trying to get at
maybe.
is...
Right, but Carson, it never showed worm taint. It showed death and hiding and bad stuff, but he wasn't serving the worm even when he came back.
These are strange times, William. And a time of monsters, we might need more monsters to fight.
Would this be a question that we can bring to our Farah friend?
I want to make sure that if we're being tracked, we don't bring any heat on them. Remember,
The ones that would know most about bringing people or other living things back from the dead would be the Garal. I know it's not something that we want to go right this very second, but it is something that we can ask them when we pick up Meatball.
I mean, if this is still a problem, then we can certainly ask. I don't know if you're going to like the answer you get.
I'm probably not going to like any of the answers. We just have to know so that way we can take care of it.
As you said, that's something for the future. We need something now. And right now, Zeb has suggested getting a hold of Appleton.
This is in two parts. One, where do we want to go? Where do we go from here? On the way to wherever that place is, I will, create an email address at the library and look up her email online and shoot her an email and tell her the place to meet. And if she doesn't show, she doesn't show.
I think she'd show.
I can also try and track her through like computer or credit card statements, see where they've been.
Yeah.
That way we can get closer, and then you can possibly send that email, so that way it's not as easily tracked.
Well, I was planning on being reasonably vague via the email, but and it was actually why I wanted to use and you could help me use a public computer somewhere, and then along the path meter was my thought. But you know these things way better than I do, so if there's a better option, please let me know. But where do we want to go? Back to the green? To find some glasswalkers? I mean, do we want to verify among the elders of your tribe that they're willing, but they're looking to support any ones that you've heard that are maybe more conservative leaning, hawkish?
I don't know anyone or any glasswalker, Karen specifically, that's leaning one way or the other. Is there any Sept on this side, Keegan, that we can just go and either hole up in for a second or talk to, since we're already on the West Coast?
Yeah, there's obviously the Septs in Vancouver, Canada, but there's also, of a Glasswalker Sept in California. But you also know there's the pretty close by Child of Gaia, Karen, the Sept of the Unified Heart. That's within Washington State. That's where Final Days is.
And Final Days is the elder that refused to call the Concordant, right?
Yes.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
I say we go to the Unified Heart, which is a few hours away from here. And then on the way there, I can try and track Appleton and see where they've been. So that way we know where our next steps are after Unified Heart.
Well, here's the thing: is I don't necessarily think we need to track her. What I would suggest, we just pick a place that we want them to go. And what I would probably need help with is just making sure that whether it's her CV online or a website or whatever the heck, if she exists out there, is getting good contact information. I definitely need help with that. And if then we can just get in contact with her. Hell, if she gives us a response, fine. We'll make up a throwaway, thing that you guys use to talk to each other on the internet. And, to the point where we use it or whatever, we delete it and we go off to meet her. I want to protect us more than find her.
Okay.
But hey, I trust you. If you know how to do it, you know how to do it. I've seen you do some pretty whiz-bang things, so.
Yeah, your thing is spirits, mine is tech.
Something to keep in mind. If all these signs are apparent to the Garu Nation that have been shown, these prophecies, the eye, the child, there's probably much more that we haven't seen, but perhaps these mages and namers are aware of.
Well, they are the same group of people that set off a umbral nuke that has created a terrible and horrific storm across the Umbra. I think you're absolutely right. Or they know far less and decided to do a lot more, which is way more dangerous.
Right. The eye in the sky stares down at all, and all look up to the eye.
Unified heart, then.
All right.
To unified heart, then?
Let's go.
All right.
Keegan, on the way there, I'm going to grab just a little bit of surface level information on Appleton.
Surface level being just like name. What do you mean by surface level information?
So the reason I use surface level is I'm pretty sure that Appleton is paranoid enough that they're going to have scripts or triggers on if their name or certain phrases are searched. So I'm trying to dance around those possible phrases or specific keywords, but still get some basic information as like where they work, what their company email address is, some basic levels like that, because I don't want to do the deep dive on my personal device.
Okay. That would be currently for surface level information int computer diff 8, since you're actively not trying to trigger any sort of scripts.
That is fair. Int computer.
So you find her name, her chain link profile seems to indicate that she works for hasn't been updated in a long time. It looks like she still is under the company DNA, but at least according to your packmates, that seems unlikely given their last interaction with her in the cyber realm.
Okay.
So 2 days of walking through Washington, you do finally get to the Sept of the Unified Heart. As you hear the howl of greeting,
I will howl back.
and you are greeted by Renata Balanced Words of the Children of Gaia. She approaches. She's kindly as she goes, "Oh, Cora Two-Hearts, it's been some time. It's good to see you again."
A balanced word. It's been a very long time, yes.
It
It's nice to
has. It has. I assume you wish to speak to the elders then. I know that there's been talk. I'd be cautious. There are several protectors here, and they've been taking much of the council's ear, and they're very welcome here after the unfortunate departure of the Stargazers.
That was a blow, and I'm glad that they are doing their part to help keep you guys safe here. But yes, I believe we would like to speak with some of the elders here.
Of course.
If they
A
have
final,
time.
yes, a Final Days is off in the city right now, doing some things for the kinfolk. But I do know that Troll Slayer is still within the bond, as is Ice Climber and Swirling Mountain.
Has Cora met any of either of those two?
You've heard of them. You know that Swirling Mountain is a Arun of the Children of Gaia. Ice Climber is a very powerful and well-known She is a very well-known Philodox of the Children of Gaia and is getting up there in years. And Troll Slayer you've met tangentially. He is a Get of Fenris, and he is, of course, brisk.
We've probably just met in passing at the moot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Perfect. Well, I guess we'll get to business if that's all right.
Of course. If you need anything, please let me know. I am concerned and wish to see you succeed, and so I will be able to open the moon bridge with no talents if you need to return home to Sacred Stone or anywhere else. We can link you as long as it's not leaving the continent.
That is a weight off of our shoulders. Will you let us know when Final Days gets back?
Of course. So
One quick question, sir, before you, our heroes, are there any Silent Striders that are here currently?
there are.
I will do that after the Elder piece, sir, so you don't have to rattle off names or anything yet,
Okay,
if that works.
that works.
Who you're considering seeing first, Rhea, as he addresses Cora. Which one was the Philodox?
That
That's
was
the Ice Climbers.
That was Ice Climber. Yep.
Perhaps we should go see her first.
Sure. I don't have a list, an order that I prefer, so yeah.
All right.
Let's go visit Ice Climber.
You start visiting. You try and find Ice Climber. You see that she's climbing Mount Olympus as she's got her picks. She's having fun climbing up, seeming to use that as a form of meditation. As she looks down and goes, "Come on up. I'm almost to the top."
Fair enough.
Certainly lives up to the namesake.
Strength athletics, difficulty 5 because there's plenty of equipment here. All right. Everyone makes it up. As you catch up with her, she's in a pretty light jacket, which makes sense given all the physical activity, even in this cold weather. She pulls off her helmet as you see the shoulder length, almost silver hair drop down. She almost looks like a soccer grandma, if that's possible. Incredibly fit as she kind of goes, welcome, young Garu. What can I do for you?
Elder, we are here in regards to the concordate that's been called, and we are seeking your opinion upon the child in question, and certainly us.
Well, if you're going to be straightforward, I appreciate it, and I'll be straightforward with you guys as well. I think that I'd want to keep the child alive, but I do think we have to do something. The child is inspiring zealotry almost in several of our Krynos-born, and I think that needs to be contained. At this time, as the world's going to hell, we need people with clear minds to actually help the nation and make sure that no one does anything that could spark something like that, Christmas Day massacre. We want to make sure that we have ourselves firmly planted, so maybe make sure that they're protected by non-Krynos-born, just so that they're not treated with undue respect and they grow up with a fat head. As for you guys, traveling the stars and fighting off the protectors, you showed a certain level of conviction I really appreciate, and I think there is enough Garu here stateside that the protectors don't have the same sort of strength that they have in Europe and Asia, so I think it's a fairer bet to line up with you all. Plus, I think the needless slaughter of a child is unconscionable.
I'm glad we can agree on that, Elder. I'm sorry, in my straightforwardness, I wasn't expecting a straightforward answer, so it's kind of a breath of fresh air as he tries to breathe, but hacks up the cold air.
Well, we've got 2 unicorn children here, and one Get of Fenris that I've been told lots about, who I know has a still heart that can direct her fury. So, I trust you all.
That definitely means a lot. Also, on another note, wow, I hope that I am just as athletic when I'm your age, Elder.
You're too kind, sweetie.
I'm climbing up a freaking mountain.
Yeah. Oh, But I see you staying fit. I have no doubt. And in our rune, honey, you'll look like this and better, I'm sure. Well, if you keep the battle scars away. She gives you kind of a wink, and then she lifts up her arm, and it looks like you see like this. She moves her jacket a little bit, and you see the markings of several scars down her side and her shoulder down into the tank top, where she zips it back up.
Cora will pull up her shirt. Not on your life. I won't keep him down.
Only weak men shy away from scars.
Don't you know it?
It must make Zeb pretty strong, huh?
He is the strongest among us. So many scars.
Mark will just delightfully pat him on the shoulder in joke. Well, this was certainly quick business. Wasn't expecting that. Do you plan on heading down the mountain soon? Perhaps we could join you.
Oh, in a few. I'd like to stay up here, get a few breaths in, and watch the horizon. You can join me if you like.
Sounds enjoyable to me. Though, I'm with business here with my packs. Pack? Is this something we could possibly do? Just take a respite for a bit? Ponder the wonders of Gaia?
Mark, if you would like to do that, you can, but I do think that we have much more business that we have to attend to, not just here, but also elsewhere.
Honey, this might be the last 2 months of your life, and if you don't spend at least a moment of it enjoying it, you're going to regret it when you go to the halls of your ancestors and they tell you fucked up.
And if I don't keep trying every small thing that I can, I'm going to regret that too. So either way, I'm regretting something. Or I can just do what I know best and not regret a single choice.
If I were to be completely open, I've been too long in the cities, too much in the steel concrete jungles. I wish to be out here amongst nature and Gaia.
You mean you don't like Steel Mountain?
Well, now you're just getting semantic with me, William. And Mark will just smile and laugh. I could catch up with you guys later. I definitely would like to stay here.
So, climbing down's a bit more difficult. That is a Strength Athletics Diff 6 for all of you who are going down. Jesus. Cora just vertically climbs down face first.
Dude, she got a 6 going up and a 7 going down. Like, she's
Gravity.
There is
Gravity's
absolutely
helping.
a sex joke in there somewhere.
Absolutely.
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 As y'all get down, Mark, you're there for about another hour, but for the rest of you, who are you going to see now?
Calls up your ancestors. What a dick thing to say. Talking about the Krinosporn like that too? God.
Yeah.
What a grating person.
Well, for now, at least, all we have to worry about is them voting to keep the child alive.
Absolutely right.
Well,
So
that's
who's next?
one elder down. My thoughts were to speak to Troll Slayer. If they are anything like Guts-the-Weak, then we may have to show some backbone to convince them in a similar way. But we could also speak to Swirling Mountain.
Well, if Troll Slayer's anything like Guts-the-Weak, like you say, we can just go talk to them real quick.
Why not? Let's go meet with Troll Slayer.
But we are making assumptions here.
You find Kurt about halfway down the mountain, just outside the Bon, tending a few hidden traps in case humans get too close to the Karen. He's physically imposing. He's about 5'6", tall and wide, wearing basically a tank top in the cold, working with tools. He's got a tool bag on his shoulder, going at it. He's got kind of ruddy, reddish hair with a couple streaks of silver starting to get into it, and a beard that goes to about nipple high in length, as he's sun-seared almost completely, as he's got a kind of olive complexion going through the motions as he looks up. Cora Two-Hearts,
Kurt Troll Slayer. I've heard much about you.
the same. What can I do for you?
My pack and the Ill Omens are
are wandering around looking or getting information on where people's opinions lie on the child and what will be voted on at the concordance.
You catch me at a difficult time then, because in my heart I wish the child to survive. I think that there might be merit to this child being some sort of Gaian savior, an answer to old Odin. But on the flip side, I'm not so certain that I would throw away help from the protectors of Gaia, who have offered to give us 3 Adren and 1 Elder to help make up for the loss of the Stargazers here.
So they've put you in a difficult position.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that in your heart there is merit to Meatball.
As he gives you like a, what? Look.
It's his temporary name.
I see.
Meatball bites the hand that feeds. It's appropriate.
I'll have to take your word for it.
What is this exact deal that the protectors are offering you?
Several Adren and an Elder to help defend the Karen.
But is it based on the death of the child, or just your vote?
My vote on the child. Well, no, it is based on that they're using this to say if the child dies, we will get our help. My vote is just a pebble in the avalanche, though I know for a fact that even if they succeed, and I voted in favor of the child, I would absolutely not get the aid I was promised, because I did not hold up my end of the bargain.
So if I were to tell you that, based on all of our dealings so far, that we seem to have more in favor of keeping the child alive, even if it's temporary, would that sway your vote one way or the other?
Perhaps. Where have you been? Because if they've all been places favorable to you in the first place, you might have a skewed perspective of things.
Sacred Stone, 5 Mirrors, Steel Mountain. We've also traveled far and wide across the stars, spoke to the planetary Incarna.
That may be, but I don't know much about you. Grows-Matrices, right? I've heard some tales about you with the Glasswalkers and the Purge, but I will say there are many legends about Fomori's Bane and what was once known the Infernal Alphas, and not all of it is good on processing information. I don't know if that'll hold a candle in the Concordant.
Well, I'm a new variable in the mix. The old packs are different with me around. And that's not to be cocky. That's just facts.
That might be, but I don't know if that's going to convince a lot of Garu. Let me tell you this. If you can go to Karens that are not linked to Sacred Stone, or you, several of us have heard that the Green has a favorable view towards at least Fomori's Bane. And I know that the 5 Mirrors has an alliance with Sacred Stone. Sacred Stone keeps us abreast of this information, given that Sacred Stone is also our ally. Go to Karens that are not controlled by Garu, who, like you, enjoy being around you. And if they're also very much in favor of the child, then I can be convinced to change my vote. If not, you're going to have to play hardball and try and get me something equivalent, or at least close enough equivalent that the protectors are offering, so that I can keep this place safe. Mark, you catch up with everyone at this point.
Hey guys. Oh, greetings. Mark Guides the Fallen.
Nice to meet you. Kurt Troll Slayer.
At the end of the day, we were wanting to try and talk to other Karens that were not necessarily in favor of us.
Great.
So
There'll be some time to debate before the Concordant. Get there early. I plan on it. You can talk to me, and if you can convince me, then I'll change my vote the day of. But I have to keep, as the warder of this Karen, my chief duty is to make sure that this Karen is protected. if you can find me hard proof that the child is meant to be our savior, then I'm more willing to listen as well, because Gaia is more than one Karen. But if you have that hard proof, you'd even be able to convince the protectors.
Just knowing that you have an open mind is already helpful enough. Thank you, Rhea. And I'll gesture to anybody else behind me. Anyone else would like to speak up?
I've said all I need to.
I have nothing to add to what's been said. Thank you for your time, Troll Slayer.
Oh, hey, don't step over there. That might take your leg off. All right, as you guys get back into the Karen proper, what next?
Swirling Mountain's all that we have left until Final Days comes.
Yep, and it's been a couple hours, so it seems likely that Final Days won't be here till tomorrow.
So as I understand what Troll Slayer has challenged for his vote is that we must convince the minds of those that aren't already on our side.
At least those not in favor of us. They might already be on our side, but they were not already on friendly terms with us.
Ah,
Yeah, reiterated the lesson I think we learned about conviction, and that we might, exactly as William has said, what we've done so far is found those that are maybe doubtful or that we know, and it very well might be having to convince the protectors directly, or make a deal. I have no idea how to find an elder and 3 Adrian, though, to augment security for a cairn.
My first thought was to offer to help, but that would just be the vote of one elder against, well, in addition to who we know would support us, but the vote of one elder against however many the protectors have.
The fact that Kurt, deep down, doesn't want to kill the child is already something on our side. They're just trying to protect their homes. Well,
it's the thing that doesn't make the protectors evil, right? They're trying to do what they think is best and provide what they think would be best for those whose mind needs to be changed.
well, perhaps there's some in their camp that might disagree with their methods. It might be that since the protectors of Gaia seem to be our greatest adversary in this, maybe perhaps getting some of them, getting some of their elders' votes. Not necessarily get every single one of them, but perhaps give plausible doubt to their cause.
Yeah, maybe.
Troll Slayer did mention if we did happen to find hard evidence that the child is destined to help our side win in all of this.
You will recall that the Incarno related to visions and knowing the future said that it was a challenge to us because no one knows what the future would hold. I think that's they call that like a red herring. If we could find hard evidence, there wouldn't be need to have a concordant, would there?
That's true.
I'd love to find hard evidence. I'd love to find the iron lock, absolute guarantee that this guru wouldn't fall to the worm. I'd like to have the guarantee that every guru that ever went through the first change never would fall. And we can't guarantee that for ourselves.
This is just a thought. The pack the younglings that we saved from the raid at Cripple Creek, for all we knew, during that raid, they had already fallen, but we had given them a chance, and they are proving themselves to not have fallen to the worm. What if we... I hate sounding so devious like this. What if we were to convince... Who's their mentor? Steven?
Kind of. He doesn't want to be.
Right. I mean, certainly this is a argument of quality over quantity. Elder with 3-hour room, a large number of fresh minds that could be molded. Minds that would have fallen but hadn't. And we have the proof of hadn't. They're still among us. They're receiving their training. Not saying that this is the full proof that he needs, but rather maybe this is something we can weigh against the Arun and the Elder being offered.
I guess I don't understand the weighing that part. I could certainly understand drawing a parallel to say we've rescued cubs from pits that had not undergone their first change, that certainly had to be educated and learned that some of the things they were taught were completely wrong, I think that's a good point that we could cite time and again, rescuing cubs from the spirals before they walk. I guess I don't know how would that link to the promise that's been made to the warder of the Sept here.
Instead of minds that are already set in their convictions, minds that could be molded into a conviction that would fit in with the Sept.
Right, but if we're really in the middle or in the midst of Ragnarok and you desperately need an elder and multiple Adrian or some cubs that are going to go through their first change, we could. Stranger things have happened.
Certainly, I'm just speaking out loud, but you do bring. Yes, if anyone else has any ideas before we meet with the other.
Is there an indication? I guess we don't know the stance of this elder, so we're asking them. All right.
So, you approach Swirling Mountain. She is kind of in her lupus form, sniffing, hunting a little bit here and there before she notices you and she shifts into her Hamid form. She is a black woman with a little bit of white streaking down her hair. As she looks up to you, she's in a nice kind of jacket as she crunches down with some combat boots. Mori's Bane and the Infernal Alphas?
The Ill Omens elder. Speaks-in-Sweet-Whispers, they're alpha.
Yes, I'd heard of the Concordant called for you. I am assuming that's why you're here.
Correct. Most of our time has been spent speaking with elders and their opinion on the proceedings in the hopes of sparing the life of the child up front, which is why we're here to talk to you now.
I understand. I have several thoughts. I think I'm unconvinced one way or the other, though the protectors did bring some rather damning prophecies to me from Garu across the world regarding the potential for this child.
May we ask what those prophecies were? As far as I'm aware, there was only the one.
There's one that came up that they think is tied to the child. It's from Gulira Moonsister. Takes a deep breath as she kind of thinks back, and she goes, I'm sorry, I'm not a Galliard, but I believe it is. And the armies of destruction marched forth, led by the child that should not be, and bearing the sign of the eye of the devourer upon its brow. Against the child nothing could prevail. The heavens shuddered once in sorrow and despair, and then all was still. In the silence which followed, I heard a voice say, this is what may come to pass, yet all is not unchanging. Seek therefore the child, and you may prevent all things from ending.
If I may say so, Elder, in my opinion, that doesn't sound damning. The prophecy, that one in particular, outright states that it is not certain that events could still be changed.
That's true, but you have to take into consideration that reforming the child is still a roll of the die to prevent it from becoming this general for the worm. Killing it makes it a certainty that it is not a general for the worm, and the heavens will not shudder.
We traveled across the heavens looking for an answer, because why make your own answer? Why stick to your own conviction if someone else can tell you exactly what you need to think? And the long and the short of it came to be that the future was uncertain. It was a matter of conviction. And this represented a test for the Guru. It's easy enough to invoke prophecies that are the absolute worst, because we are indeed, truly this is the end. We know it's here. I don't think we should shirk from the challenge, and I think it's a display of our conviction and our courage otherwise, to see if we can do better. And I will only cite the grievous mistake of the first Ronin, and they call that a boogeyman. I saw it with my own eye. I saw it kill the father of this child. It allowed me to be in its presence and did not kill me. It was our failure. It was our failure to treat it as something of Gaia. It was our failure in the first place to see something new and call it of the worm. And it was our failure to fully justify every terrible thing we did thereafter. And this, I think, is an equal moment of extreme risk where we decide to take the easy way. Because if we don't understand it and we don't want to face it, we call it the worm and we call it evil and we find just the right prophecy. Or we show that maybe we have a little bit more to ourselves. Now, Elder, I don't call anyone out. This is the end. Everyone's united on one front. We want to destroy the worm. Where we have been easily divided is what challenge do we face when and how many fronts can we fight on? I would sooner die than have this be something that causes a civil war amongst the Gru. That is my conviction, and I have nowhere to go. There's no ancestral homeland. There's nothing after this. When I die, I'm gone. And I speak from that point alone, that this challenge is worth it, knowing I have nothing waiting for me after this life at all. To execute me is purely an end. Now that's a very personal sentiment, and I understand that, and I don't expect that to appeal to anything beyond it, but the fact of the matter is we could face it here and now, and everything we spoke, every spirit we spoke to, everyone that's even weighed in on this have considered the same. I think the challenge is worthwhile, but we understand the fact that securing these places of power for the elders is something that is on their mind, and not so easy to make one decision or another.
I think I can understand that, but you have to understand, you bringing up the first Ronin, I don't know if it solidifies or shakes my convictions. I'm sure you're well aware that our tribes are responsible for that abomination from existing, and its birth came from good intentions gone awry. In the days of the war of rage, the Silent Striders carried a message from the children of Gaia to create a peace deal. The children of Gaia so convinced that they could do it, and then the other tribes betrayed that trust and slaughtered the Pharaoh, all easily gathered under the pretense of peace. How likely is it that we are not gathering the Garu for their own slaughter by gathering around this child in an attempt to make it live? Do you see the parallels?
I absolutely do. And I never considered it to be a matter of one or the other. They're either the savior or they're not. But if they just are. Now I imagine, given Anthelius in the sky, giving my own auspice, I know it's not just going to be another guru in the nation. That's wishful thinking. Probably someone a little bit desperate on my behalf. But why not? Why not do something just a little bit different? Why not make one final attempt?
Right. Charisma expressions, difficulty 8, and for that whole speech you get 2 bonus dice.
May I use the gift, Invocation of the Ceremony?
What's that one do again?
It adds +4 to charisma when I'm referring to things that deal with occult or prophecy or legend or
I will
ritual.
say yes. With that, she goes, I will consider what you said. I don't know if I'm fully convinced, but you might be right.
It was an honor to even be heard, Elder. Thank you.
You guys spend the night here, and you get the call at around 10 a.m. that Final Days has re-entered the Cairn.
Time to go.
Want to talk to your
him.
stepdad now?
Time to go talk to our stepdad, who hasn't made us mad. Just very, very disappointed.
As you approach, you see Final Days. You notice he has new battle scars over his face. They look like Garu claws had dug deep. He looks over and goes, Cora, Mark, Kyle, ill omens.
Cora's standing there with, arms folded.
Mark will wave.
What are you voting for, Final Days?
I was going to vote for the child's execution and your survival. That was the cost of me not calling the Concordant, for they knew it was going to be called eventually.
I want complete honesty. Why? I see it as a betrayal, but why did you choose not to call the Concordant when we called on you, when we trusted in you?
Simple, really. And I'm sorry you feel betrayed. But at the end of the day, this was a grown-up decision. Because if I had called it then and there, I would have had the protectors trying to undercut me, which would have brought ruin to this Cairn and would have ruined any chance of a safe haven you would have had. They wanted me to also vote for your execution, but I said no. That's how I got these. And we went round and round, and I negotiated like this, with an uncertain creature that could ruin the entire nation, I decided to go with the Protectors. But for those who defended something that they viewed as innocent, I refused to vote for their execution. I wanted to protect you by making sure that I was in your corner. And I've even convinced a good portion of the Protectors to secure my vote for the destruction of the child, that they would vote in favor of keeping you alive. I have done many things that I regret. I've done many things that I don't regret, but I regret the outcomes of. But I don't regret raising you, and I would regret every day if there was a chance that my stubbornness got you killed.
You know, it wouldn't be your stubbornness that got us killed. It would be our own.
It would be mine, because clearly I passed it on to you. Maybe that's my only real regret. And as you both, as your groups kind of stare at each other, and you start sorting things out, emotions and tensions are high, and we'll see how this all shakes out next time. Thank you to everyone who listened. We'll catch you in that next episode. Bye.
Bye.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.